นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะ The importance of Abhidhamma. Now, let us talk about the importance of Abhidhamma. Is the knowledge of Abhidhamma important? If you ask me, I will say, yeah. Abhidhamma is not only necessary in my opinion, but essential for a correct and thorough understanding of Buddha's teachings. Please do not be discouraged when I say this. You will not understand the suttas correctly and thoroughly if you do not understand the teachings of Abhidhamma. Many teachings in the suttas have to be understood against the background of Abhidhamma. It is something like a guide or a guideline for understanding the teachings in the suttas. In Dhammavada, this is a sutta. The Buddha said, do not do any evil, or do not do what is bad. Do what is good. If we are to avoid evil, we need to know what is evil. What is unwholesome? Sometimes we may think something is wholesome, while actually it is unwholesome. Or sometimes we may think something is unwholesome, while it is wholesome. We need to understand which is evil and which is good. That we can understand with the help of Abhidhamma. Abhidhamma teaches us that whatever is associated with greed, hatred, and delusion is evil. Is unwholesome whatever is associated with the opposites of these three unwholesome states. That is non-greed, non-hatred. That means loving kindness. A non-delusion or knowledge or understanding is wholesome. If you don't know Abhidhamma, you may be at a loss as to what is evil and what is not. Among develops the part consciousness is a type of consciousness that arises at the moment of enlightenment. According to Abhidhamma, part consciousness arises only once. It never repeats. In that sutta, the Buddha said, the monk develops the part, but according to the teachings of Abhidhamma, part consciousness only arises once. The meaning to understand there is that the monk practices meditation further to reach the higher stage of enlightenment. To reach the higher parts, if we do not understand that, we will understand it incorrectly. There are many places like this in the suttas. Without the knowledge of Abhidhamma, you will always misunderstand, or you will not fully understand. So, in my opinion, the Abhidhamma is essential for the correct understanding and for the thorough understanding of the teachings given in the suttas. Is knowledge of Abhidhamma essential for meditation? Then there is another question. When we want to practice meditation, do we need the knowledge of Abhidhamma? There can be different answers, yes and no. There is a book called Visuddhimagga. It was written by the Venerable Buddhaghosa in the 5th century AD. It is actually a handbook for meditating monks. It describes the practice of meditation from the foundation of unity of morals up to the attainment of enlightenment. When describing Vipassana meditation, the author thought in that book the essentials of Abhidhamma about aggregates, past elements, faculties, paticca samuppada, dependent origination. He said this is the basis for knowledge. Knowledge means Vipassana knowledge. Just looking at it, we might conclude that we must study Abhidhamma before we can practice Vipassana meditation. But when we look at the stories where a person came to the Buddha and the Buddha preached to him and he gained enlightenment or he became an Arya. He did not know Abhidhamma. Still, he became enlightened. So, in my opinion, knowledge of Abhidhamma is not absolutely essential for realization of truth. Even if you do not know Abhidhamma, you can practice Vipassana and you can get results. It is extremely helpful, however, to have knowledge of Abhidhamma. It is like reading a map before you go to a place. When you reach that place, you don't have to be told because you already know which is which. It is something like that. Knowledge of Abhidhamma is very helpful. It is good, as you are doing now, to study the Abhidhamma a little before you practice meditation. But there are some teachers who think that it is essential. You must know Abhidhamma before you practice Vipassana. Knowledge of Abhidhamma is good to have. Is Abhidhamma necessary for understanding the teachings? There are some, especially scholars, who think Abhidhamma is not necessary for understanding the suttas. One person wrote like this: the third division of the Pali Canon, the Abhidhamma Pitaka, need not be considered at length, for it differs from the sutta literatures already discussed only in being drier, more involved and more scholastic. Originality and depth are comparatively lacking, and our knowledge of Buddhist philosophy would be little less if the Abhidhamma Pitaka were altogether ignored. He means that though you don't know Abhidhamma, your knowledge of Buddhist philosophy would not be less. You don't need Abhidhamma to understand Buddhist philosophy. The authors of that quote was Ananda K. Kumaraswamy. This was written in his book, Buddha and the Gospels of Buddhism. He said originality and depth are comparatively lacking. Maybe originality is lacking because the same things are taught in Abhidhamma as in the Sutta Pitaka and Vinaya Pitaka. There may be no new subjects taught in Abhidhamma, but that I will let you decide for yourself. I will not say anything more. So, whether you think it is shallow, or it is deep, or it is profound, or whatever, you will understand later after you go through this course. There is another person who wrote something like that. Perhaps Kumaraswamy got his idea from that book. It is called The Histories of Indian Literatures by a German author, Maurice Winternet. He wrote something like this. There are so many synonyms given. There is no originality. They might have picked up a book of Abhidhamma and say, and just so enumerations, synonyms, and others, and became disillusioned with Abhidhamma. Before you can pick up a book of Abhidhamma and read it and understand it, you have to have some knowledge of the fundamentals. The fundamentals of Abhidhamma. Without a fundamental knowledge, you cannot go direct to books in Abhidhamma Pitaka. If you don't know the multiplication table, you cannot do math. You cannot go to arithmetic and do the sums without the multiplication table. That is until some time ago. Nowadays, people use calculators. You don't need to learn multiplication tables without basic knowledge. It is almost impossible to go into any kinds of knowledge. So you need some kinds of fundamental knowledge of Abhidhamma before you go to the Abhidhamma itself. Without that knowledge, whatever book you pick up, it will be like great to you. Sayadaw Tila said, Abhidhamma is highly prized by the profound students of Buddhist philosophy, but to the average student, it seems dull and meaningless if you pick up an Abhidhamma book. Even if you understand Pali, you will find it very dull and boring. This is because it is so extremely subject in its analysis and so technical in its treatment that it is very difficult to understand without the guidance of an able teacher. You may read a book on Abhidhamma and understand to some extent, but I think you need a teacher to guide you through Abhidhamma. That is probably why the Abhidhamma Pitaka is not as popular as the other two pedagogues among Western Buddhists. Maybe not only Western Buddhists, but also modern scholars. Ananda Kumaraswamy was not a Western. He wasn't a Oriental. Okay, so it is not so popular to find scholars in the Orient because it is extremely subtle in its analysis and extremely technical in its treatment. You will see that when you pick up a book of Abhidhamma and read it, I will not say whose statement is true. You can find out for yourself later after you have gone through the courses.